Welcome to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. I'm your host, Roman. We have a great show planned for you today, but first, forecast from our IntellectualRadio.com Weather Center. Today, cloudy, high 33 degrees. Tonight, weather advisory starting this hour into the morning because of hazardous road conditions. Freezing rain is in the forecast throughout the night. As temperatures drop, it's going to be road slick and all that. Be careful out there. Low 27 degrees. Tuesday, freezing rain continues early, then cloudy throughout the day. High 36 degrees. Tomorrow night, cloudy, low 28 degrees. Wednesday, cloudy, high 34 degrees. Thursday, cloudy. A couple of flurries, high 34 degrees. And on Friday, this is the big one, cloudy, turning cold as temperatures drop like a rock throughout the day. There will be a winter weather advisory Friday night, anticipating a major winter snowstorm approaching the Chicagoland area. People are advised to do their shopping or errands early in the week. A foot or more snow is expected. However, it is subject to change throughout the week, but it is looking good for the forecast, and we're hoping for the better, but hopefully it diminishes while it's approaching the Chicagoland area. High 31 degrees. The Drive at 5 is also part of the new Monday night lineup with a new show called Becoming Dateable at 12 p.m. The Great Entrepreneurs at 6 p.m. New Black Leadership at 7 p.m. Dreammakers at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Chronicles of Ron and the Raw Checklist at 10 p.m. Also, the Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5 only on IntellectualRadio.com. The Drive at 5 is sponsored by Joshua Flynn and Associates Insurance. Get your insurance. You know why? Because you have to get it. There you go. Today, my guest is the Assistant District Governor of the Rotary Club. Please give a Drive at 5. Welcome back to Tylee Thompson. Welcome back to the Drive.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Please give IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station an update since last time you were on.
Sounds good. Roman, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. I think you have a wonderful show, and I take a look at your visitors a lot on Facebook.
It doesn't help when you kiss up to the host.
And I just take a look at you a lot of times, and I really like what you got going on, man. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Since the last time I was here, might have been a year and a half, 2 years ago, then I served as the president of the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club. Since then, I've been elevated in position to be the assistant district governor of the area out here. And that area goes from Melrose Park to the north, Pershing Road to the south, Wolf Road going west, and Cicero Avenue going east. And so I serve as that area's assistant district governor for Rotary District 6450. That's the newest thing that has happened in Rotary with me. Since then, they also have me, the district also has me over the a part of the membership committee, and over diversifying the organization as the district as a whole.
So define the governor, you're saying district governor, define the title, because is it kind of like the governor of a state duties? Because it sounds like it's a lot of duties entailed with that.
Definitely not equal to the the duties of.
I'm not saying to that extent, but you're naming specific areas or district, and then
in that sense, you're absolutely correct. Our governor, he is the lead person, the head person in leadership in the district. And so the district, its boundaries cover from the lake east, going all the way out to right before Rockford, going west. And then as far south as Kankakee, and as far north as a little bit before Evanston, give or take a few towns. I'm off just a tad bit, but those are pretty much the boundaries. Yep. And he is our head leader for the entire district, serving all of those clubs. So each town, not each town, but many towns have what are called Rotary clubs. And the Rotary Club has a board and it has a president. Okay. And they all fall under the leadership of the district. and the district has a board and it has a governor, and the governor pretty much is the leader of the entire district. And then the governor has what are called assistant district governors. There are about 10 of us, if my memory serves me correctly, and I'm one of those individuals.
So it's almost like an overseer of
An area. Yes,
of
sir.
an area.
That's exactly what it is, Ron.
Okay.
Yes.
Define Rotary Club and what it stands for in the community it serves.
Rotary. Rotary is just a fantastic organization. It's the world's oldest and largest community service organization. Founded back in 1905, and we have over a million members in the organization, over 30-some thousand clubs worldwide. So Rotary exists on every continent, of course, with the exception of Antarctica, but every continent on the planet, Rotary on the globe, it just exists. And so if you go to Africa, anywhere on the continent of Africa, there are Rotary clubs. So I just finished talking with a good friend of mine. Her name is Nama, and she is an assistant district governor down in Nigeria. And we just talked about Rotary business just as soon as earlier today. So a Rotary club, like I was saying, they're all over the world, in every country, every state. And then in the Chicagoland area, we have many Rotary clubs. But right outside of the Chicagoland area is the Maywood Proviso area, which encompasses about 10 communities in that Proviso community. And the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club, it represents and serves that community as relates to Rotary. Mm-hmm.
So that's, in a nutshell, Rotary.
In a nutshell. So, but what Rotary does is Rotary started off in 1905, started off as a business networking organization. The gentleman who founded the organization, his name is Mr. Paul Harris. And so he came to town and he wanted to build his business. And he just didn't know enough people to do that. So he just started with his immediate circle, I would assume, of friends. Maybe you had a lawyer, maybe you had a doctor, or whatever. And then they would go from each individual's office. They would rotate from office to office, having these business networking meetings, rotating, hence the term Rotary. And that's where the term Rotary comes from. And the organization, it just continued to build as a result of that. Rotary became a community service organization when it participated in its first community service project. And that is when Rotary donated the city of Chicago its first toilet. And that was our first community service project.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, just in case our listeners are listening in, and to hear you correctly, the Rotary Club donated a toilet.
The city of Chicago's first toilet.
The city of Chicago first toilet.
The first one. Yes, sir.
So can you elaborate on that? Because some people will be like, huh, what?
Well, before you had toilets, you didn't have toilets. So however individuals, used that system or lack thereof, up until that point, you didn't have a toilet system. So Rotary donated and gave the first toilet to the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm.
And that when it evolved.
Yes, sir. Yes, that's when it started from a community service standpoint, and then the organization evolved as a community service organization since that day. But before that, it was just business oriented, and it still is both. So it serves a dual purpose, a business networking organization and a community service organization as well.
Let's start with Africa. You mentioned Africa. There are Rotary clubs in Africa. Yes. What are some of the community service you guys provide over there in Africa? Because again, resources where we're going to talk about later on. What type of resources that the Rotary Club provides in Africa?
Gotcha. Resources that are imperative for people to live. When you talk about Africa,
are you talking about in a village standpoint, or
correct.
Are you talking?
The answer is correct.
Okay,
both. So
so
I would say from a village standpoint, mainly. So Rotary partners with other organizations that are there in Africa on the ground, and it provides organizations with drinking water, wells. It provides organizations that supply and young people with the opportunity to go to school. the opportunity to have clothes on their back and shoes on their feet to go to school wearing. It provides them with financial assistance for books, things of that nature. Those are some of just a few of the things off the top of my head that Rotary provides to areas like the motherland of Africa.
So, what prompted Rotary to branch out to international waters such as Africa? You talked about the networking aspect, but to venture out, say we can go beyond. You have some in Canada. You have some, even in Alaska. Some of them.
Yeah, that's correct.
What made you say, not you per se, but the organization as a whole to say, you know what, we need to go beyond our scope to international waters and assist people there?
Got it. Evidently, I definitely wasn't, around when they were making those decisions and making those moves. But it appears to be, from my standpoint, I would say, man, it's a common sense thing. Rotary was taking a look at servicing needs, areas and communities and countries that needed to be served. Even countries that you consider some of the wealthier powerhouses of the world, there are still areas in those countries that need to be served. Here it is, America. America is one of the greatest countries in the world, but we still have areas that need assistance. Areas like the west side of Chicago, areas like the south side of Chicago, where you just have communities that need community-based organizations to help them in small ways in order to move forward in ways that they need to move forward.
And I'm glad you mentioned the west side of Chicago and the resources that are lacking. We had Reverend Ackery here last week, and we talked about the tales of two cities. Mayoral election, and I know you don't get into politics or anything like that. However, the question goes beyond the scope of resources. And the resources is the major complaint. We're in a situation that when you go, like, you're downtown, you go not even far, like 2 or 3 miles out, the resources diminish to zero. And they're saying it's a tale of two cities. So here's my question: why there is no resources in our community that can prevent the tale of two cities? How can Rotary assist in those areas? You said you are in Maywood. Right now, currently, no grocery store. How Rotary supposed to help and assist in the tale of the two cities? I know we're talking about Chicago, but it goes beyond, because Maywood, even though it's a village, what we talked about in Africa, how you guys assist in that, and let me know a little bit about the tale of the two cities, in your opinion, and how Rotary can assist in that.
Roman, that might be the best question, I've been asked in quite some time. I don't do a lot of interviews, but that's one of the better questions that I've been asked. And I see it clearly when I'm with my children all summer long, and we try to visit most communities in Chicago. So my boys and I, one of our favorite communities is Wrigleyville. And then me and my boys, we've been going to Wrigleyville for quite some time. And Wrigleyville is transformed, and they've done it in a record number of times. It's been done in 2 years, Roman. I was in Wrigleyville 3, 4, 5 years ago, and how it looks now is totally different than what it looked like 2 years ago. You cannot tell me that a family of 3 or 4 people, the Ricketts, with a lot of money, that they can come into our city and invest their money and their resources and their network into a community and transform that community in 2 years. But the west side of Chicago can be burned down in the late 60s and still look the same way it did in 68, 69 as it does in 2019. I think it's disgraceful. I think it is disgraceful. I took a look at another community. I don't know what name they've given it. As you see, they're changing names of communities, which I think is disrespectful. How do you call anything west of Ashland not the west side? It's what it is. West of Halsted. It's what it is. It's what it always has
Now
been.
they're referring to it The West
Near
Loop.
West. They call them the West Loop, Near West.
Yeah, near West
it,
or West
it's a
Loop.
marketing strategy to make sure that people who are investing in those communities feel safe. That's my take on it, that they feel safe when they're building condominiums, and that people who want to move into these communities don't feel like they're moving into the West Side. They feel like they're moving into the Near West New community and the West Loop community. I think it's disgraceful. You cannot go to Little Village and just all of a sudden change the name of Little Village.
Well,
There's
actually,
too much.
they're
There's
talking about
That's my.
changing. They're changing.
Hmm.
Actually, there's
Hmm.
a discussion
Hmm.
with Humble Park because of the regentrification
Hmm.
going on there.
Hmm.
According to the Chicago Tribune, they're talking about naming it like because they have the Puerto Rican flag
Hmm.
that you're in Humble Park.
Hmm.
You're there.
Hmm.
But they're talking about Puerto Rican village
Hmm.
or Puerto Rican you know, kind of like community to change it because they're seeing what you're talking about.
Hmm.
Not to interrupt you,
That's okay.
but it's going to like rebranding itself. So the Hispanics saying, I understand about the
Hmm.
regentrification, but that's why they said we need to stake our claim. And that's where you have the flag. I don't care how many people,
Hmm.
but this is still our community.
Yeah.
And they set up goalies,
Hmm.
kind of like the Chamber of Commerce.
Hmm.
They set up a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Hmm.
So they formed a relationship with the aldermen and saying, hey, if you still want to be in position, you bring the business to us and we say nay or yay.
Hmm.
And that's been going on for, I would say, almost a decade. But now they're saying we need to, when you say rebranding,
Hmm.
they're saying we need to get a clear understanding that this is our community. And that's why they wanted to kind of name it Puerto Rican Community
Hmm.
or Puerto Rican Village.
Got it. Um, right before you transition a little bit, I was referring to Little Village,
Hmm.
the traditionally Hispanic community, where the business district is on 26th Street.
Correct.
Humble Park. I'm very familiar with Humble Park. My father owned a bar in Humble Park, and I lived with my father every weekend. I would go stay with my dad. He owned a bar called the Echo Key, Armitage, one in Albany, maybe a block or so off of Kedzie going east. And the community was 95, 98% Hispanic, Puerto Rican, some Cubans as well, but mainly a Puerto Rican community. Just like the West Side, however many decades ago, a decade ago, 10 years ago, 98, 97% African American. I am not saying I'm in total disagreement with what that Chamber of Commerce, if that's the organization that is spearheading that I'm in total disagreement with that. Not at all. I think that people need to understand when you're moving into a community, that community has history, that community has a tradition, and it needs to be respected. So that's my take on that. How dare you go to Humboldt Park and you're gentrifying Humboldt Park? You've created you've put this beautiful walkway in Humboldt Park. What's the name of it? The Bloomingdale Trail, I believe that's the name of it. And we walked that trail a couple of days out of the week. My sons and I. And when we're walking, Roman, we see all of the construction that is going on and the construction that is complete with these brand new condominiums that individuals in their communities cannot afford. That which is what they're trying to do in Pilsen. And how dare you go to Pilsen and change the name of their neighborhood? How dare you go to Bronzeville and make an attempt to change the name of one of the greatest African American communities in the history of America, probably second only to Harlem in America? How dare you have the gall to do something like that? So I'm not in total disagreement with that particular organization with what they're doing or attempting to do in Humboldt Park.
How Rotary
Mhm.
can assist in neighborhoods such as Austin.
Mhm.
Austin, lack of resources, uh, grocery store. It's kind of like
Mhm.
more people are calling not a grocery store, a process center.
Mhm.
And you get a little lettuce, you get a little tomato or something like that.
Mhm.
More people prefer shopping outside, going to Oak Park. According to statistics, Oak Park is receiving huge amounts of money from people living in Austin, meaning hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars every single year.
Leaving and going there.
And leaving, going there, they're going to Pete's, they're going to Eats, they're going to Beats, they're going to whatever you name it, because the restaurants, franchises going to Oak Park, and they're constantly building and going up. So my question is, Rotary is coming to Austin.
Mhm. To the
How,
west side.
to the west side.
Mhm.
How can we like stake our claim? We're talking about staking our claim.
Mhm.
How can we stake our claim to a community saying this is ours? We fought for it. Grandmom lived here for 60 years.
Yes.
How can we stake our claim? How can you assist? Rotary can assist that effort.
Let me touch on a little bit on the Austin community because I know that's near and dear to you. I believe it is. You're from the Austin community.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Lived over there a little bit as well. 1404 North Mason. One block off of Austin and a couple blocks off of North Avenue. And I was just sitting there reflecting on that time of my life at 8, 9 years old. And I was saying, what grocery store did Miss Anna, that was her name, did she send us to? And it was across Austin. Even back then, it was on the other side, west of Austin, over in Oak Park. There was a convenience store on Austin. I believe it was Division, and I believe it may still be there.
I think you're talking about Chicago Avenue.
Maybe Chicago Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were a couple of small grocery stores, but nothing, no type of grocery store, to the best of my recollection. Now, I'm 43, I'm getting older, man. But as I'm reflecting on that time in my life, I think back then we were crossing over Austin to go to a grocery store that we wanted to go to. So that's something that it needs to change. And a way that I think that Rotary can help with that is I don't think that there is an organization as well connected as Rotary in the world. How can it be? Because it's a worldwide organization. A lot of organizations like, let's say, fraternities or sororities, those organizations, if I'm not mistaken, that organizations here in the United States, Rotary is worldwide. So we have a reach worldwide. Our most notable member is Bill and Melinda Gates. Bill and Melinda Gates, they match every dollar that Rotarians raise for the eradication of polio. And I know one might be saying polio. I thought polio was eradicated. Well, there are still cases in certain areas of the world where polio still exists, in India. And every dollar that Rotary raises for vaccinations for polio, that foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they match it dollar for dollar. So you have individuals with power and influence like that who can in turn help to change the outlook of how the world looks now and how it will look 20 years from now. Polio will be eradicated with the help of Rotary. There's no doubt in our mind. We've been fighting hard for the last 20, 30 years. I'm not sure when they started the initiative. So what's the next thing once that done? Once that is done, it seems like the obvious disease to help eradicate would be cancer. So you're looking at Rotary's reach to Fortune 500 CEOs all over the country and wealthy individuals all over the world to help bring their resources to where they need to be to help eradicate certain things, food desert, grocery stores. What I can do as an individual is take a look at a need. I saw a need. I saw exactly what you just mentioned in Maywood. There is not a grocery store. I believe they closed the last one, which was Aldi's. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what I did was I took a look at my network in Rotary, and I took a look at the beautiful Miss Hermine Hartman, who I have a relationship with, and I know that she has a direct connection to Mr. Walter Robb, who is the former CEO of Whole Foods. And I took the initiative to say, hey, Ms. Hartman, former the editor of one of the greatest magazines that our community has ever seen, Indigo Magazine. And I said, is there any way that you can get Mr. Walter Robb to come and just talk to us at the Rotary Club? And it was done. And we just finished with that program last Thursday. And I believe you had a couple of your individuals in your network who came on out. Shout out to Mr. Joshua Flynn, Otis Hudson. They're starting to be good friends of mine. And he came out, Mr. Walter Robb, and he talked to us about how he started Whole Foods. The connection is there. So if he's there and all the stakeholders in the Maywood Proviso area are there, they were there. We have 3 or 4 of the 6 or 7 trustees on the village of Maywood who are members of our club. They were there. There's the opportunity to connect. Rotary presented that opportunity. Let's dialogue. We have a problem here in Maywood. We have a problem here on the west side. Can we discuss it? Somebody told him about it on the south side of Chicago. They had the same idea and the same drive that I have now, and they had a talk with him. And they said, let's talk about it. And as a result, we have a Whole Foods on 63rd Street in Halsted. That can happen on the west side. That can happen in the Proviso area. It can happen through Rotary. Does that make sense, Roman?
Yeah, makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. It's just implementing.
Yeah.
Implementing. Like you sit down here
Hmm.
and you sit down there
Yeah.
and your butts, close the door.
Yes.
You start talking.
I think it has a lot to do with being bold. If you have aspirations and dreams, things you want to accomplish as a person, I think it has a lot to do with being bold. Okay, I'm a professional speaker as well. So I have aspirations of being one of the top professional speakers in the industry. And so one of my goals is to speak for Fortune 500 companies. Do you think that I was going to let an opportunity to go by where I had in front of me for the first time in my life a Fortune 500 CEO in front of me and not be bold and say, "Hi, my name is Talek. I am a professional speaker. I was wondering if we could sit down and have a cup of coffee and discuss my services as they relate to you and your friends." You have to be bold with your drive, with your initiatives in order to get things done. And that's just my take on it. And I wanted to be bold for the Proviso area, and I want to be bold for this remarkable community that I was born and raised in, and everybody calls the West Side of Chicago, K-Town to be exact.
What are some of the benefits if someone decides to join Rotary?
I just named a couple of them. I think the major benefit, twofold. The major benefits to being a Rotarian is to link with like-minded individuals to serve your community. And I know you got a couple of questions as it relates to that, so I won't go too far down the road there, and we'll discuss what that means and what we do. But to serve your community, that's number one. And then the second thing where I think being a part of Rotary could be beneficial to individuals, and it's just very, very plain and simple. The network is just outstanding, man. It's just outstanding. Any club you go to, inside of that club is a who's who of the community. Um, and you're gonna ask me another question about why is it invitation only? Is one of the reasons.
Yeah, that was coming up.
I'm sorry about that, man. It's simply a who's who of certain communities. The head librarian, the 6 and 7 of
But
the
why
trustees.
not publicize it? If I mean your community, you're serving the community,
Mhm.
right? So why is it like, "Psst, hey, I'm gonna RSVP you, come on here to the Rotary Club." Like it's a major secret, which is not a major secret.
Oh, it's not a major secret at all. First of all, Rotary is an invitation only organization, and how that happens is we take a look at either business owners or professionals, um, individuals or leaders in their community. Those are the three pillars that make up the individuals in Rotary. So we take a look at individuals from that perspective and standpoint, and we reach out to individuals and say, "Hey, there's a wonderful organization that we want to talk to you about and give you information about. And if you're interested, we were wondering if you would want to be a part of what is going on at Rotary and with Rotary International." So that's how that goes. Business leaders, business people, entrepreneurs, leaders in the community, and there was a third one. I'm sorry I missed it. I just stated it. But those are the three pillars, of individuals that we reach out to when it comes to looking for people to join the organization.
Now, a little pushback, as I say.
Yes, sir.
You talk about serving your community.
Mhm.
I want to serve my community. I don't know how. How can Rotary teach me how to serve my community? I want to serve, but really I can't.
Okay.
The interest is there, but so many problems and issues and drama for your mama type of things that goes on in an organization.
Yes, sir.
How can you get me off the couch to attend a meeting? You've been RSVPing,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm good.
Are you referring to from a marketing standpoint?
I'm not
or
only
how, or how to help a person
an
literally put hands
individual,
on and do something?
an individual.
Got
How
it.
can you teach me to serve my community? I see people do it all the time,
Yeah.
but it takes some implementation,
Yes.
some motivation
Yes, sir.
to serve your community.
Yes, sir.
Because some people oh, I want to do that, and I'm just going to leave it right there.
I think one of the better ways to do so is through mentorship and through connecting individuals with an organization and other organizations in communities that are actually doing that. So, for instance, You have an organization by the name of PADS. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but I know that it's a shelter, homeless shelter, which serves the community. We raise money, and some of the money that we raise, we serve our community by giving to that particular organization, PADS. So if I met an individual who wanted to serve his community, I would connect him with the executive director of PADS and say, John Doe would love to serve his community. Can you connect with him? We want to connect him with you through Rotary so that he can do exactly what it is that his heart is desiring to do to serve his community. There's another organization, Primo. That's an organization in the Austin community, right off of Central and Pine, somewhere around over there. And that is a homeless shelter for battered women. We would connect an individual with an interest in serving his community with that organization to serve. So what do you do at PADS? What we do through Rotary at PADS, once a month, we have a person, and we rotate these individuals, who goes and purchases food to cook or prepare, and we take it to the homeless shelter, and we help them prepare the food and to serve the people of that wonderful organization. And so that's the way that I would tell a person who wanted to serve. We would connect that individual with those organizations.
The biggest question,
Mhm.
let's say, okay, I heard about a whole bunch of organizations. They make it sound pretty.
Mhm.
They present it like a Christmas present.
Yeah.
They put a nice little wrapper, some wrapping paper on the box, and just put the bow on top, and it's pretty. But once you open it, it's like the same old,
Yes.
you know what?
Yes.
So what is the difference between Rotary Club and other organizations that's out there?
Roman, anytime you put two people in a closed environment, you have issues, a la husband and wives. So in an organization, when there is a multitude of individuals with different concepts, with different ideas, different talents and gifts, you're going to have sometimes what is called friction. And so as a leader, I do the best that I can under the leadership and the direction and tutelage of Dr. John C. Maxwell. I'm one of his team leaders. And I study how he teaches individuals to be leaders. And I do the best I can to be a leader in my organization. So when I see friction festering or it's brewing its ugly head, I do the best I can to make sure that we spray the right type of whatever on that weed to make sure that it's
The
eradicated.
Begone drama
Yes,
spray.
not a person,
Mhm.
but the issue. Let's sit down. Let's discuss it. Let me know what your needs are, what you would like to do, and let's see if we can implement it to make that person happy, to make this person happy, so that we can move in a corporate and a cohesive manner. So that's my take on that. You say, how is Rotary different from other organizations? I just gave an example of not necessarily being different, but agreeing with you that you may have drama and all types of organizations because you have different personalities and different people. I think organizations, companies, families, all of these things rise and fall with leadership. And if your leadership is not necessarily strong, but if your leadership is good, then I think that your organization, your family can be well also.
Then I'm gonna have a pushback for you.
You're doing a lot of pushing back.
Yeah. Well, you had me up early. So here's the thing.
Yes, sir.
Define a good leader. America, I'm going from national to local to organization. You got not-for-profit organizations that's going to suffer because of the government shutdown. Define a good leader. If you're the leader, and basically you are a leader of an organization, and the government shut down. I mean, there's news reports that goes on that's saying that, hey, we're going to give you your public assistance early. Our advice is you got to stretch it because we don't know when the next time you're getting one.
Yeah.
government funding for major not-for-profit organization, after school programs, the list
Yeah.
goes on and on. Define a good leader and what you recommend a good leader should do and how to tap into that resources, because Rotary provides those resources.
If you're leading an organization and you don't have people who are following you, you're not leading, you're just taking a long walk. And I think the definition of a good leader is one who can take a look at the landscape of his organization, his institution, the municipality, or whatever that he or she serves. Take a look at the landscape of it and see where he thinks help is needed, but then also do a needs assessment with the people and see what type of assistance the people say is needed. See how those two things balance out. Address the people. When you address the people will in turn run through a brick wall for you. And now you can get some of the things done that you want done on your agenda, as opposed to force feeding things down individuals' throat. If you address the needs of the people, then the people are going to get behind that person. People follow a person before they follow a vision.
But
And that's my take on that.
But let's say I'm stubborn.
Mhm.
I'm cool. I'm fine.
Mhm.
I don't need you. I'm good.
Are you the leader in this case?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay.
Not me per se.
I'm just saying, you're referring to the leader.
Right.
The leader is good. He's stubborn. That's what you're referring
right. The stubborn. You have stubborn leaders. You have
Yeah.
stubborn employees.
Mhm.
You have stubborn people in the organization.
Mhm.
They're saying, okay, you're being a good leader. You're trying to address the needs.
Mhm.
What are your needs? Oh, we're good over here.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you walk out, well, look at him, look at her,
Yeah.
trying to be all,
Yeah, man. Yeah. You're always going to have, the naysayers, people who just are not happy with anything that you're doing. But if a person's heart is right and you know that you are a person of good character and you're just doing the best to work on your character, none of us are perfect, man. But we all are doing the best that we can to work on our character and just be better people. Then you can walk away from a situation like that, knowing that you've done all you could to address that need or that need or that area or that situation. And if it's not where you wanted it to be, then you can walk away feeling good about yourself, knowing that you gave it your best shot. That's my take on that.
Okay.
Mhm.
We're like, what, 14 days into the new year.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of people have like, we have vision boards. I have a vision.
Mhm.
You just said,
Mhm.
do what instead of as being a leader? Can you identify that when people are out there doing vision boards
Mhm.
and you're saying, instead of the vision,
Mhm.
you're talking about implementing? Define that.
I was referring to leadership, the leader and the vision and the individuals who are following. Let me be clear with that. So what I was saying that um, I don't want to use the word subordinates. People who are under the leadership of a person, they want to take a look at that individual first to see what type of individual he is, not who he was. We've all done some crazy things, but who you are right now. What type of person are you right now? Can I take a look at your character and I can honestly say that you are a good person? So people will follow the person. Take a look at that individual to see what type of person he is before they follow the vision. Once they connect to that person and know that we've got a good leader that we're following, then they're really ready to take a look at his vision and follow through on his vision. That's what I was alluding to in that segment of the interview. Yeah.
Describe your networking.
Mhm.
Is one of your biggest components of Rotary Club. Describe your networking elements in the
Okay.
club, because a lot of people, you say you have resources.
Mhm.
What kind of resources in networking?
Okay. So from a networking perspective, when you come into a Rotary meeting, let's say, for instance, I believe there was a gentleman there. He's running for an office in the Austin community. I believe it's alderman. Um, DeAndre, I believe his first name is. DeAndre, if you're listening, please excuse me. I can't remember the last name. So he wants to connect with individuals who have been there and who have done that. But not just any individuals, individuals who've been there, done that, who he respects, who he would like to listen to and take advice from. So that person can come to a Rotary meeting, and those individuals are right there for you to sit right next to and have a meal with every Thursday. You don't have to go to the office to set up an appointment. Individuals who are retired mayors of villages and towns and communities, they're right there every week, not just in our Rotary Club. For example, in our Rotary Club, two former mayors, one just passed, may he rest in peace, Mr. Don Williams, the father of newly elected Cook County Clerk, Ms. Karen Yarbrough, who is a member of our club, Karen Yarbrough, and her husband, former mayor of Maywood, Mr. Henderson Yarbrough, that whole family, members of our club. Um, Trustee Isaiah Brandon from Maywood, um, a couple of other trustees, former deputy clerk Lenore Sanchez, former deputy clerk Gary Wohl, he was also a former trustee. These individuals are right there for you to just sit down and just talk to. And maybe Rotary can be a conduit for individuals to receive that mentorship that they're not receiving. And you might say, Chile, well, why do you think they're not receiving it? Because I'm looking at individuals' Facebook Live, and I'm looking at the interviews that they're conducting, or the live segments that they are hosting, and some of the things that our millennial leaders are saying is that the elder statesmen who have already been there and done that, they're not showing us the way. They're not showing us how to do this thing. I think Rotary can be a conduit to help those individuals to learn the ropes, to do those types of things. Good friend of mine, he was running one of the candidates for mayor. He just withdrew. Mr. J. Mal Cole. He was one of our speakers, and I think that's a person who could benefit tremendously from just being. He already has those types of people he has connections to, but Rotary can give him more connections and more people to just learn from. I think he's a remarkable person, a remarkable leader, and I look forward to voting for him for whatever it is he sees fit to run for. So that's just my take on that from a mentorship standpoint. That's how individuals can come in our organization and just network.
How you get people together, how you get people in the networking. Let's say you're doing the networking thing, so forth and so on. I mean, I was there at one event and you said, hey, that's the Drive at 5 person over there. And people like just one hand clap. So when that happened, how you get people like, well, I really don't want to meet some of these people, I just want to go home?
I think it's called the law of attraction. Like-minded people want to be around like-minded people. And any of our guests who come in, and when they come in repeatedly, I do the best I can to say something like this. And we like to give Mr. Chris Parker, president of the Bellwood Chamber of Commerce, vice president of lending for Wintrust Bank, Proviso Bank at a Wintrust Bank. Everybody, can we give him a hand? I like to introduce people that way. Mr. Roman Morrow from the Drive at 5, great friend of mine. Can everybody give him a hand? If I didn't do that when you came, I apologize. I want to be sure I do it the next time around.
It's more like, let's say Wanda introduced me and basically saying, like, coming to America, introducing sexual chocolate, Roman Morrow, and it's like,
no, and we don't want it like that,
right?
And we definitely don't want it like that. But I think that individuals who come in and they think they receive that type of reception, they should take it upon themselves to understand that.
But what if I'm shy?
I'm trying to tell you. Give me an answer. So they should take it upon themselves to realize who they're sitting at a table with and start conversations on their own. That's called networking. A shy person will have a difficult time networking, because one of the things that is needed in order for a person to be a good networker is communication skills. So if you're shy and you're not communicating, you're lacking communication skills, then your ability to network effectively just might be hindered. But I just do the best I can to be sure that when people come in, that I introduce them in a manner that I think they should be introduced. I do the best I can at doing that.
Let's move into your organization raising money for other organizations and not-for-profit. Describe your fundraising efforts. You described it before earlier on in the show. Describe it intensely, that let's say, for example, and it's part two of my question. Don't check the time now. We got time. So
Go right ahead.
let's check the fundraising efforts
Mhm.
here. And basically, if I don't know how to fundraise,
Mhm.
because fundraising is a big component to
Yes,
Rotary.
sir.
If I don't know how to fundraise, then what?
You know what?
I don't have that much money to donate.
Yeah.
What can I do?
You know what, Roman? Prior to me joining Rotary, I had never done much fundraising outside of small fundraising at probably a church or something like that. But when I became involved in Rotary, I was able to learn from tickets, 5 or 6 tickets, do the best you can to sell them, and we auction off items that we ourselves as members we go out and purchase, or we ask companies and organizations to purchase, and we ask companies and organizations to sponsor. And the profit from that event sometimes it's 10,000, sometimes it's 12, 13, $15,000 as it was last year, somewhere between 12, 13 and 15,000. And we put that in our account. And at the end of the year, we sit down collectively as an organization and we invite all members to come to that meeting and we split up evenly. Those who want to be a part of making the decision who we give to internationally come over here to these tables. Those who want to be a part of the decision making who we give to locally come and sit at this table, and everybody there at that table makes that decision, and everybody at the other table they make that other decision, and we just give the money away.
If somebody asks
Mhm.
transparency,
Mhm.
um, let's say, hey, I'm a troublemaker.
Yeah.
I want to see where the money is actually going.
I don't think that's a troublemaker at all. I think that's a person who wants to be sure that things are done the right way. And so, how we make sure that we are very transparent in how we deal with our finances is this: once a month, we have a board meeting. All members of the club, not just board members, but all members are in the club are more than welcome to come to any board meeting, and we advertise that and promote it during our club meetings to come to the board meeting so that you can see what is going on. We open our board meetings with a call to order, and the very first thing that we address is the treasurer's report. And the treasurer goes over each line item of how much money came into the organization that month and how much money went out and where it went out to. So on a month to month basis, any member can come to the board meeting and see where the money is coming from and where it's going.
And
Mhm.
I know we're running out of time. I wanted to discuss entrepreneurship,
Yeah, go ahead.
but we're running out of time. So briefly describe
Mhm.
how they can get a hold of you,
Mhm.
Rotary, how they can be invited to a club or two, and go from there.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Rotary, the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club, we meet every Thursday, with the exception of the last Thursday, last week of the month. We meet every Thursday at noon, and we meet at the Meal of the Day Cafe, which is located inside of the Eisenhower Tower. That's pretty much the tallest building in Maywood off of the Eisenhower Expressway, 1701 South First Avenue. That's the address. Fourth floor of that facility. Every Thursday at 12 o'clock. Our guest speaker this upcoming week is Mr. Anthony Clark. He's a teacher at Oak Park River Forest High School. He ran for Congress, Danny Davis's seat unsuccessfully, and he's running again. Very, very good friend of mine. And he's our guest speaker this week. Next week is a young lady who's running for mayor in the city of Chicago, Miss Amara Enya. And then the final week in January, we will have a discussion. Laquan McDonald, what happened? And so that's where we meet. Those are our upcoming speakers, and that's how they can come on out and be with us. 1701 South First Avenue, the Eisenhower Tower, the Middle of the Day Cafe, which is on the fourth floor of that building.
And how they get a hold of you?
Oh, you can get a hold of me. You can reach me first and last name. This is my email address, TALEI, Talay, and then my last name is Thompson, THOMP as in Paul, SON, 75@gmail.com.
All right, my man. Don't be a stranger to the Drive at
Never
5.
am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Had a
That's
great time.
no problem. I know you will. You're going to get me afterwards. That's going to do it for us on the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, who's behind the scenes this week. Wanda, our executive producer this week. Thank you so much, Wanda. Coming up next week, we'll have more of the Drive at 5. You guys have a great week, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Goodbye.